Hello, and welcome to Mental Health Matters. I'm your host, Liz Lang. Each week on this podcast, we will break down various aspects of mental health. We are so excited you're here and hope you enjoy this week's episode. Hey guys, Liz Lang here with Jeremiah and Selina Woodruff from Core Connection. And this week we are going to get into when teens pull away. And before we do that, I have this week's parenting moment, which is actually fits in quite well with this. So my oldest has started writing a book with a friend of hers. They're doing it on a tablet, they're writing it, typing it out on a tablet, and it's great. I think that's fantastic. I love that she is writing this book and she's using her creativity, and they're all they're close to 100 pages by now. So they're really into this and really invested into this, and she's having a really good time. The problem is she's starting to get so into it that she doesn't want to do anything else. I say, hey, we're going to go do this family event. And she's like, no, I don't want to go. Please don't make me go. I'm losing out on valuable writing time. And developmentally normal, okay, but we've had to just say, no, you're not skipping. We even told her, look, we love that you want to write this book. We are encouraging you to do this. We are giving you extra screen time, knowing that you are doing something productive. Like you're not just, watching TV or playing games or whatever. You're actually doing something creative and good. And so we've been a lot more lenient with your screen time so you can keep writing this book, but you're not going to miss out on family time. And that's kind of a little bit of what we're going to get into today, is just this natural developmental thing of teens wanting to prioritize their friends over family. And it's developmentally normal, but that doesn't mean you let them just completely pull away. And so, Curtis and I are very comfortable saying, no, you're not skipping out on this family event. You are still going to this family event that we're doing, because there's more to life than writing this book. And so I think it's just a good example of teens don't always want what is best for them.
Man, and that's so hard to accept too, because we're so used to raising our littles and having more control of what's happening and opinions and being able to persuade them, I guess. But that's good that you're able to recognize that that's just normal part of development and not take it personal.
And that's a big part of what we're going to get into today. So how to stay connected without pushing too hard. So, and again, it is developmentally normal, and it's not even necessarily that kids are rejecting their parents. So we have developmental stages as we go through life, right? And the developmental stage for adolescence, starting, I would say, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would say around between ages 10 to 12 is when they kind of start this new developmental stage where their primary goal and their primary need is autonomy from their parents. Does that sound accurate to you guys?
Yeah, probably a little closer to 12, but it varies by all kids. They're all a little bit different. And it's really this stage of figuring out their independence and who they are. It's them trying to kind of create this persona of who they actually are. And they're figuring it out. They want to understand it. And typically they want to do it independent of their parents. And so that's why suddenly what a friend thinks becomes so much more valuable. And, we see it in the movies and we make jokes about it all the time. Like, mom told you to put on a jacket 3 times and the daughter says, no, it's fine. And then the boyfriend says, hey, it's a little chilly. Why don't you grab a jacket? And she goes, oh, sure. Okay. That's a good idea. Right. And that's a very real thing. And it's not because mom's information isn't valuable. It's just because they're figuring out who they are and developing themselves, and what friends think and believe becomes super important, especially when we've created a home where we know mom and dad are always going to be there. And so they trust that, and it's probably more subconscious than anything, but they trust that in a sense that, if I push mom and dad away, they're still going to be there. They're still going to love me. They're still going to care for me. They're still going to take care of me. But my friends, I'm not so sure about. And so I want to know what they think, and I'm trying these things on and trying these things out. And so I'm going to be independent of mom and dad a little bit more. And that's not a bad thing.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I really appreciate that explanation because I think it just that information will help parents operate from an understanding of, okay, this is actually a sign that I'm doing it right. My kid feels comfortable and secure enough in my relationship that they know that they can form these other relationships with friends. And again, yeah, it is closer to around age 12, but I appreciate that you said it's different. So my oldest is what we might call an early bloomer. And so she definitely started that developmental process, I would say. I mean, and not like alarmingly early, but a little bit earlier than maybe is typical. And so for her, it was fifth grade. Fifth grade is when she really started to develop her, I guess, what you might call clique. And, because before then, she was just kind of friends with everybody. And that's how it is, right? Kindergarten through about third or fourth grade is you're friends with everybody and you have lots of friends. And then for my daughter, fifth grade is when she really started to develop her own clique. And it's like, these are my best friends. And honestly, and even young kids will say, oh yeah, this is my best friend. And then next month, this is my best friend. Right. And so, but for my daughter, fifth grade is when she's like, these are my best friends, and it hasn't changed. And
Mm-hmm.
that's not to say that it won't change or evolve over time, but this is just kind of this developmental process. And this is what, adolescents are going to go through. They're going to find the like-minded peers, the peers that they connect the most with, the peers that they have the most in common with, and the peers that they socially get along with the most. And that's going to kind of become their clique. And that clique is going to become really important. And it's not that they're necessarily going to, hate other peers or be mean to other peers, but they're just naturally going to gravitate towards one set of peers over the other. In fact, another really good example of this, my daughter had a friend that she played with all the time. And then around kind of end of fourth, beginning of fifth grade, she kind of just stopped hanging out with her. And it wasn't that they didn't like each other anymore. And it wasn't that they weren't friendly, that they weren't nice to each other. It was just they had gone into separate cliques. And it's okay for kids to do that. It's not a sign that they are being socially mean or right, or that like there's bullying going on, or that there's something wrong. It's just a normal process of the adolescent development.
Yeah, and you're going to see this throughout their adolescent life, and
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to see the friends come and go and change.
Yep.
Maybe there's a core group that stays right there and connected, and that's normal. And again, we're just figuring out who we are at that
Mm-hmm.
stage. We want to understand it. What our friends think becomes so important to us,
Yep.
and we're gonna be testing some things. We're gonna be trying on some different things, and it's just a natural, normal part of growing up.
Yeah. And so again, I think if your kids are starting to gravitate more towards friends, and again, it's a sign that you're doing it right, because it means that they have a safe, secure relationship with you. But that also doesn't mean that you completely let go, right? And that you allow them to prioritize their friends and just let their friends completely influence them.
Let me cut in for just a moment.
Okay.
Your kids are gonna value those friendships, and they're gonna go through this stage whether you're doing it right or wrong as a parent.
Okay.
They
Yeah.
are going to do that. It's just that it's easier for them when they have a confident, solid relationship with mom and dad, and it's just not a bad thing. They're confident in coming back to you, and if you've built that relationship, that's a good and positive thing. And maybe I kind of said that a little bit wrong earlier, so I want
Mhm.
to be careful with that.
Yeah. And I also want to acknowledge for parents that they might feel sad when their kid, enters this phase. And I think it's okay to mourn what used to be. And I guess maybe it happened so slowly with my oldest that I guess I didn't really, and maybe it's just perspective, I don't know, but I didn't feel too sad about it because maybe I remembered being her age and remember friends become so important. But I also feel like I still have a good connection with my daughter. But if parents are mourning that phase of, oh, their friends are so important now, I feel like it's okay and give yourself permission to mourn that, but, maybe keep it from your kid? Does that make sense? What are your guys' thoughts on this, on managing that emotion?
I'm never a big fan of keeping things from our kids that they can handle. I don't think there would ever be anything wrong with saying, I'm disappointed. We used to spend a lot of time together and now we don't. And it's okay. And it's okay for them to see that and to feel that and experience that. And I think that, yeah, it's also okay for parents to be sad about the changes that come. And at the same time, I think that parents really need to look forward to the teenage years. It is such a fun time with kids. I love being around teenagers. Their energy is great. Their enthusiasm is great. They have so much to look forward to. There's just a lot of great things that are going on with teens. And the parent-teen relationship can be fantastic. It can be a wonderful thing. It doesn't have to be miserable. There will be times that are going to be difficult. That's part of parenting, and that's okay. But it could be a time to look forward to as well, and a time to look forward to continuing to build the relationship, but in a different way, in a less dependent way, in a more independent way, where we become more of mentors or coaches or partners in their lives instead of dictators. And I think that's one of the hard struggles for parents, and why we end up having our teens pull away is because for the longest time, we've had this influence over them their entire lives of we could really kind of get them to do whatever we want them to do. Right. And so now they're starting to realize like, oh, wait a minute. I don't have to do that. I don't have to do it. There might be a consequence, but I don't have to. Nobody's going to make me do really well on my homework. Nobody's going to make me do this or that. My parents might try, and they might try through coercion or manipulation or whatever method they choose. But once they start to realize that, we have to accept that as parents that, we have to take a new approach that's healthier and creates connection. And that approach really is in the form of being a partner or a coach or a mentor, where we work together with them to help them learn to make choices on their own. We give them guidelines to live within and say, hey, here's the boundaries. You choose what you're going to do. And I mean, it's the same principle when it comes to clothing, right? If you've got a 7-year-old kid and it's negative 10 degrees outside, you're not going to let them pick shorts and a t-shirt and flip-flops to wear outside because that could be bad for them. But we say, well, here's all these pants and shirts, and you could wear this pair of pants and this pair of shoes or this sweatshirt or this jacket, and they can choose what they wish. And we start allowing them to make those decisions, and we become a partner in helping guide them through the decisions instead of making the decisions for them.
I would always encourage being open and honest with your kids, even with things that you're experiencing, even if it's hard. It helps them to learn and grow and understand how humans are. And it will help them to know that you are able to work through things too. But I think maybe it might be a good time to teach a concept of how relationships are just our thoughts about other people. So you might have a friend that you really love, but there might be somebody else that actually doesn't like her at all. So like, how can that be, right? Like, she isn't a different person. She's the same person. So why does that happen? And that's because your friend hasn't changed, but your thoughts about her are one thing and somebody else's thoughts about her are another thing. So relationships with others, and we can bring this to our teens, is just our expectations of them. So absolutely, mourn that loss of what you expect from a teen or what you expect is going to happen or what your relationship is going to be. But if you want to sit in a happier place and celebrate or be excited, then you can change those thoughts about it. Like, oh, yeah, that's sad that we don't experience those things the same as we used to. But now, look, we have these opportunities to learn and grow in this area or learn and grow from each other this way. And having that expectation of your teen is going to change your thoughts about them when you change that expectation. And so then your thoughts would change and your relationship with them can change, and you can have that same connection that you once had in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And expect that to be a process, right? If you're really struggling with it, give yourself grace and recognize that we don't always just change our thoughts and shift our perspective overnight. It's going to be a process. And I think one thing that helps me personally is it's exciting to see who your kid is going to grow up to be. And it's exciting to watch them develop these interests. So my daughter writing this book, that's really exciting. And she's loving it. And I'm loving seeing her get passionate about something. And so, you could try leaning into that of, oh yeah, my kid has really found their niche. They found what they're really interested in. That's an exciting thing. And because, one thing that we talked about, I believe this was last week's parenting moment was, or at least one of the parenting moments where it was trying to enjoy the moment that you're in. And it's entirely possible to be excited about who your kid is going to be and who they're going to grow up to be, and also still enjoying the moments that they're in. So enjoy that discovery process. And if possible, try to be part of that discovery process with them. Even if you're not interested in it, try to show an interest in it anyways, because that's a great way to maintain that connection that both you and your kid probably want. Because, yes, teens are going to naturally want to prioritize their relationships with their friends, but it doesn't mean your relationship should be pushed to the side. There's still a lot of really great ways to stay connected. And I think a very simple way is to take an interest in what they are interested in, to ask questions, and to, show that you care about what they're involved in. Because that is going to show them, again, I care about you. I still want to be a part of your life. And I want you to want me to be a part of your life.
Yeah, I love that way of staying connected, of taking an interest in what they're interested in. It makes a big difference for them when you can speak with some sort of intelligence about a topic that is important to them, that they love and they value. And it does create an opportunity for conversation and connection. And when we have those kinds of connections, when the big stuff comes up, they're more likely to share and communicate with us. If we just have no idea, we don't know anything about them and what they love and like, they're just not going to want to share with us the things that they don't love and like that they're dealing with. And so just a great way to continue that connection as we move into that phase of life.
And sometimes it requires feigning interest when maybe you don't actually care about this book that they read, and they're going on and 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 on about it, and they're really excited about it. It's totally okay if you are feigning interest. That is totally fine.
Sure.
The point is that you are trying to show an interest. It totally counts, and it will help you maintain that connection. So let's talk about some common mistakes that parents make. So one of them is taking it personally. We kind of covered that a little bit. Oh, they don't love me anymore. That's totally not what it is. It's a developmental stage. It's normal, and it's an opportunity. You might even look at it that way. This is an opportunity to connect in different ways. Really great way to look at it. So another thing that parents might do is pulling in too tight, right? Like trying too hard to keep that connection of, no, you have to talk to me right now, could be an example. Or no, you can't hang out with your friends. We're doing this. And to an extent, as I said in the beginning, there has to be a balance, right? So like, obviously you can't just let them spend all of their time with their friends, because it is important to still have established family time of, okay, I understand you wanted to go do this with your friends, but we already have this family thing planned and you're not getting out of that, right? So you do set those boundaries, but, and you're going to have to just find the balance of what is. But if you're just trying to constantly push yourself in their lives, they're going to pull away even more.
Yeah, and typically these mistakes that we make as parents will certainly cause a greater distance between us and our children, especially when we continue to try and control them. It is not helpful. They don't want to be controlled. And if you think about it, do you want to be controlled? No, none of us want to be controlled by anybody.
Yep.
And these children of ours are going through that same experience. They don't want to be controlled. We don't want to do that. We don't want to make them feel guilty for not wanting to be with family, or constant lecturing, or breaking their trust and trying to force them to connect with us. We create a space for them to connect with us. We create a home where they're confident and comfortable in talking with mom and dad. we talk with them. And that's one of the reasons why Selina and I talk often about this need to share. Even if you're having a hard time, it's okay to tell them, I'm having a hard time with this, and I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing here, and maybe we could figure it out together. That will build a lot of trust with your child. And it also, there's some really long-term effects from that too, right? Because sometimes our kids feel like we need them to be perfect, and we put off this perfection persona that we do everything right. And then when they have a failure, they think, oh gosh, it's the end of the world. I messed up. But when our children watch us as parents make mistakes, and they experience that with us and hear us talk openly about it, it kind of gives them permission to make mistakes and realize like, oh, my parents make mistakes. I can make mistakes, and it's not a big deal. We can get past it and figure it out, and they'll help me and I can help them. And it's really kind of a cool process, and it's hard to do. I don't think Selina and I are always great at this, but it has definitely been valuable when we've been successful in this area.
Okay, let's take a quick break and we will be right back.
Hey, quick question for you. Are you someone who wants to be fit, healthy, and happy? And what if I told you you could get your dream body by simply just listening to a podcast? I'm Josh.
And I'm KG, and we're the hosts of the Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast.
Listen, we get it. Fitness isn't easy. Carbs, no carbs.
Just stop, okay? It doesn't have to be that complicated. And that's why we made this podcast. We get straight to the facts so you can become your best you.
So the way to check us out is click the link in the show notes or search Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast on any of the major podcast platforms. We'll see you soon.
Well, talking about controlling them, and this goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning. They want to feel independent and have their own identity. So when they start sensing and feeling like we're controlling them, then that's when they're going to shut down and pull away even more. So just thinking of your situation with your daughter and her writing her book, that's a great opportunity that you could say, hey, I understand that you want to write this book. I love that you're writing this book. I'm so interested in seeing what you're doing. I love watching it. Right now we have this thing planned as a family. When else would be a good time that you'd be able to spend more time on writing your book? So just finding ways to open and give them opportunities that they can have a say and make choices in it is going to be helpful. It doesn't mean even if we do that they're not going to push back or pull away.
Yep.
But it helps to keep creating that environment for them that they feel like they are going to have some control and say as to what they get to do and want to do.
I love that, Selina. I was thinking about that same thing, that I think that's such a perfect opportunity to come in and play the role of coach here and not lecture, but helping them to understand the importance of balance in our lives. Right. And so just asking them questions and coming from a place of curiosity, like, man, it's so cool that you want to do this. I bet you want to spend like every minute of the day writing this book if you could. And that would be so fun if we could do that. But what other things are important for you to do each day? And why is that important to you? Why might that be important? And exploring that with them and helping them see like, stepping away from it might actually encourage your creativity, and it might allow your mind to be a little bit more open and not get stuck in the tunnel of the writing that happens. And so that experience is just such a perfect opportunity to move in a partnership role or a coaching role or a mentor role to help encourage them to write the book and to have balance in life. And that's a lifelong skill, because even when we work, if your daughter became a great writer and she would still need balance in her life. She wouldn't be able to lock herself in her room for weeks and weeks on end to write a book. She would have to come out and be a part of whatever family she has and eat and sleep and drink and have personal care and all the different things that have to happen in our lives, right? So it's just a great opportunity, I think, for you to move more into that coaching, mentoring role.
And this can apply to any and every aspect. And it doesn't matter what the interest in. Writing is just kind of our example, but it could be the same thing with a sport, right? You could get a teen who's really into this sport, and maybe it's all they want to do is just keep practicing and practicing and practicing. And you can step in and say, hey, you're doing great. I love how interested you are in this. But, are you doing the other things to take care of your body so you can perform? Are you making sure that you are eating enough calories to fuel your body? Are you getting enough sleep so that your body has the energy And are you taking a break? Are you giving your body the rest that it needs? So, there's all sorts of ways to help teens, again, just find a more balanced life. So real quick, going back to another common mistake that I want to hit, and that is snooping or breaking trust. That is definitely not something that we want to do. Now, I also want to emphasize the difference between snooping and regular monitoring, right? So I would consider snooping as just going through their room without cause or reading their journal, right? So those are kinds of things. And I'm not saying that there might not be an instance where if you suspect your kid is doing something, then yeah, you might have to go through their room. But in that case, I would recommend saying, hey, I have this concern, we're going to do this, and letting them know so they don't have a chance to hide or do things like that. But in general, we don't want to snoop. We want to give them their privacy. And also, if they are on some sort of an electronic device, so like my daughter is perfectly aware of, hey, we can see what you do on your tablet and we're monitoring it, and your tablet is not a safe place to have, to share or write private thoughts. So if there is something private that you want to, like a private conversation you want to have with a friend, you need to do that in person or over the phone. Or if there's thoughts that you need to write down that you don't want me to see, you need to do that in a journal and not on a tablet, right? So again, privacy is another really big, important thing for teens, and giving them privacy is going to help them. It's going to help establish trust.
Yeah, they need space. And I'm with you on the tablet, and everybody's family is going to be different, right?
Yeah.
But if they know ahead of time, that's the key. I think
Yes.
when a child in our home has access to a phone, we always help them understand that this is mom and dad's phone we're allowing you to use, which means we have access to it. And so don't put anything on there that you wouldn't want us to know or hear. If there's something you need to have private, that's what journals are for and things like that.
Yep.
And there may be a time where you need to look at a journal, and that's okay as long as it's justified. But you have to understand that you're risking a trust thing there. But if we're talking about life and death and safety, sometimes it's something that needs to happen, but you got to kind of sort that out as a parent. You got to find that place, but they need to know that they've got a place to be them and to put their own thoughts down and be able to have a conversation with a friend that nobody else knows about. And they need that space. And so we need to give that to them in order to build trust, because trust goes two ways, right? Our children need to trust us, and we want to trust our children, and teaching them that principle through example can be powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so to wrap up, let's just kind of go over some more ways to stay connected, right? And so connection doesn't have to mean constant closeness, right? So you think quality over quantity. So when you do have time with your kids, as you should as a parent, whether it's in the morning, they're getting ready for school, maybe you're driving them somewhere, right? Whatever you're doing, those are perfect opportunities to have genuine interactions with them and to have really great connection just kind of in the day-to-day life and living of the home. So, as much as you can, make those moments count, right? And try to be fully present. We all have distractions, and obviously distractions are gonna happen. Like maybe other kids is an obvious distraction, or some meltdown at work is going on, or you've got to deal with something, right? Or you've got a spouse that's maybe having an issue. But just as much as you can, and when you do have the opportunity to connect, and I really do think driving, especially if you've got a busy kiddo, we have like about a 25-minute drive to our church, and we do Wednesday night activities. And that's a great time that I really try to use to connect with my oldest, is because we're driving, and it's just a great opportunity to talk to her and to really be there and be present. So just finding those times that are just natural to stay connected to your kid.
Yes, that's a great way to be connected with your kid, and just look at your thoughts and think what you're thinking about them, and seeing what your expectations are of them, and realizing that that's what's making up your relationship with them. So if you want something to be different, then work on your thoughts that you have and your expectations, and you'll see that you can feel more connected to them even though things have changed.
Yeah. And one last thing from me, if this is a real struggle for any of our listeners out there, reach out to us and we'd be happy to send you some conversation starters or something like that if you'd like. So just reach out and let us know, hey, give me some help here. We'd love to help you out, because it's a tough transition for a lot of us. And it doesn't have to be as tough as I think we make it sometimes.
Yeah. And that's a really great idea too, is if you're just struggling to connect with your teen and you feel like all you're getting out of them is monosyllables of yeah, no, it was fine, okay, then a great way to just start that conversation is what they are interested. Hey, I heard this music that you were listening to. Tell me about this band. What's the name of this band? And, that's a great way to get them to open up. So you can always find ways. And I think the important thing is that you keep trying, even if one approach doesn't work. And, I think the important thing is that you keep pursuing it. And again, in natural ways. You don't want to be pushy, but you just keep trying to find natural ways to connect. I think that could be the biggest takeaway here, is never stop trying to connect with your kid and try to make it as natural as possible.
Yeah, one connection doesn't mean always connected. We always have to be building the connection there with them. It's going to be a constant daily effort and process.
Yep. Okay, so next week we are going to get into how to talk about tough topics, and we will see you all then. Have a question? How about a topic you'd like us to cover? Send us an email at mentalhealthpod21@gmail.com.